Perfect. We can start.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda
1 minute. It's okay, but since you stopped,
No,
I'll introduce. Okay, everyone. Just since I'll take this opportunity, since Malini is doing the kirtan, did the kirtan. Uh, she's very fortunate and has got this very special mercy recently, and she's received initiation from His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And her new name is Malini Sagopi Devi Dasi. So congratulations, Malini. Thank you so much for being such an active member of youth class, and we're very happy that you've received this mercy. And thank you so much for that beautiful kirtan. Please pray for me. So then Akinchan Prabhu comes in, what would you like to tell us so that we get inspired to kind of progress in spiritual life? Or what's that one thing that you really like is a big learning in your life?
So, is it okay if it mute? I don't want it to be recorded. I mean, we can just
No, why? Let everyone hear. No one's there on Zoom. Don't worry.
Okay. So, we often hear in many classes, and a lot of senior devotees stress on this point that we should have complete faith on the Lord. We should completely surrender unto the Lord, for like all aspects of our lives. But not every one of us are actually able to like actually me not you, I'm sorry. but like we're not able to like apply it in our lives. Like we know it in theory that we're supposed to surrender and stuff, to have faith on the Lord, to have faith in Krishna's plans. Nothing happens without Krishna's plans, without Krishna's sanction and everything. But not all of us are like actually not all of us have actually like realized this fact. So I mean, of course, under senior devotees guidance, I'm trying to practice this like as much as I can. And like even like Guru Maharaj, like I've been reading some of his like how he answers question and answer. So when he keeps stressing on the same thing, just today morning I read that what to do when we are facing so many troubles in life. Just say simply, just chant the Panchatattva mantra, chant your rounds, and Krishna will solve everything. That's it. So I've been practicing that. Any issue that comes up, and like if I'm mentally disturbed, or if there's anything wrong that's going on, first of all, we need to understand that's wrong according to us, but that's actually Krishna's plan. So for us, whatever wrong that is happening, like it's just one thing. Like at least for me, what I do is when I feel that something is wrong, I just go and like pick up my beads and like chant like for a while, because that's the only like way to practically try to apply it. I mean, so this is what I've been trying. So yeah, I mean, he just says it simply, like if you really want to progress, spiritual progress is just having complete faith on Lord Krishna and his plans, right? Like in simple words. So that's what I'm trying to practice according to my Guru Maharaj's instructions.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you so much for that. Loads and loads of congratulations on
And prayers.
And prayers. Yeah, congratulations on your new birth and a new spiritual life. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Akinchan Prabhu ki jai.
Sorry, I took 5 minutes.
It's okay. Please take all the 40 minutes also. I have no problem.
And yeah, one more thing. Association is important. He pushed me a lot. So
That's what I only do. I push. I push people so much that they push me back. Okay. Hare Krishna. So sorry. I was looking for parking and got a little delayed there. How are you all? There's quite a crowd today. And can someone help me connect this?
Where is the thing?
Oh,
Hare Krishna. Can everyone hear me? I'm speaking
Yes.
through Zoom. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Rahul Biryani,
Okay,
you are.
great. Great. Okay, so I'm just around the area below the building coming up. But meanwhile, I thought to save time, just join through Zoom and speak a few words about His Grace Akinchan Prabhu. Akinchan Damodar Prabhu has been part of the class over almost a decade now. And he is my personal dear god brother and has personally been great source of inspiration, uh, even for me personally and all the younger youth in the class. Uh, he has been, who we can refer to as the head pujari of our class, being there consistently over event after event, supporting our class and even the wider yatra under the leadership of His Grace Radhapada Pankaj Prabhu, who is also one of our key mentors in our class, and guiding and directing so many youngsters. I know for a fact, for example, so many times Jayant has asked me if he can do some service, and I would always personally tell him, go and speak to Akinchan, he will guide you with respect to deity worship, arti, and the cleanliness standards. So Akinchan himself is the second initiated. He's got his Brahman Diksha recently. It's been over almost 2 years now, actually. And he has been consistently mentoring as well as serving our class in so many different ways. And of course, let's not forget, I'm sorry, Akinchan, for throwing you under the bus with this one, about the Bengali feast that we've had in his house so many times. Both his mother and his wife, Mataji, have been so wonderfully loving and caring and taking care of us. So half the weight that we have in our bodies is because of Akinchan's house. Uh, he ably supported by his wife and his mother, of course. And one may think we always make fun that Akinchan lives in Sharjah, which is in a village. But despite that, the heart that he has is bigger than the palaces of Dubai. So would just like to take this opportunity to introduce and thank Akinchan for being here present with us today. I'm just going to enter the elevator and come upstairs. I'll see you in some time. But thank you, Akinchan, for being here and enlightening us. Hare Krishna.
thank you, thank you. I'm not sure if that was an introduction or that was for throwing me under the bus with so many.
Bengali feast.
He just put me under the bus now.
Akinchan Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Let me take it. Yeah, that would be really helpful.
Funny.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So how much time do I have?
You can take how much time you want.
Thank you. Okay, so
Dhruv is saying 45 minutes.
I just need to connect to the network. Okay, someone connect to the network. Okay, Hare Krishna. Till we get connected to the network, let me welcome you all. Hare Krishna once again. Welcome in person and to those who are on Zoom. Thank you for coming today. I really thank you because you could have been anywhere at this moment, at this day, anywhere, but you chose to give your time for Krishna consciousness, and for that, extremely thank you. A little disclaimer before I start. Actually, I didn't have much time to prepare for this class. So last For some of you might know, last 10-12 days have been extremely busy for me, and I thought I'll start working on it and working on it. Something or the other kept coming up, and very shamelessly, I'm admitting that I just started yesterday night preparing for this class, and so there may be a lot of flaws. So kindly forgive me for that. Okay, let's get started. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmridangana Tasmi Sri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manavitham Sthapanam Jena Bhutale Sahaya Bhutale Mandalati Shukrantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Judapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavang Shri Gurupam Shagradatam Shagana Raghunatham Vitantam Shrijivam Shadvaitam Shagadatam Parijana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahadan Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam He Krishna Karnatmanto Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Takta Kanchana Gaurami Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanasudhe Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhu Vaibhata Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Vishnu Krishna Bhutale Vishnu Jayapura Shantinamani Namaste Sahasram Guruvata Dhamatana Harantaran Namaste Krishna Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Name Namaste Shakti Gauravani Pracharya Nirvishnu Pashta Shakti Mukam Karati Vakam Pangulam Vedam Sindhata Mahamman Shri I do not have much qualification to speak, but I have been given this responsibility by the seniors. So I'm trying to fulfill their desires. I beg forgiveness in advance to my seniors that I'm speaking in front of them, and beg for their blessings so I can justify what Srila Prabhupada has given it to us in a very simplistic way. So before we start today, small recap. What did we do so far? For those who have attended. Where were we? What are the topics we touched? Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
And how he was planning to get a child,
Mhm.
and then what happened when the child died, how we blame the Lord for all our problems in life.
Fair. So we had King Chitraketu. Just a little background. He had I think 100,000 wives. Yeah, 100,000 wives. But he was very sad. He's a king, 100,000 wives, but very sad. Why? Not a single son. He's trying for a child. He's trying for a child. Very, very sad. So he got an opportunity to meet the sage Angira. And when Angira inquired from the king about his welfare, the king said that everything's well, but I'm not happy. Why? I don't have a child. So then he asked for the blessing from sage Angira, and he blessed the king with a child who became the reason, who would become the reason for his happiness and lamentation. So the child was born to Queen Kritya Duty, and everyone was very happy. And it's natural, like you don't get something for very long. What happens? And suddenly you get it, all your attention goes to that particular object or the child. And everyone was very much focused on that child. Everyone was giving all the attention to the child. So the rest wives became very envious. And when they became envious, they plotted against the first queen, and they poisoned the child and killed the child. So when the child died, King Chitraketu was extremely distraught, and just couldn't understand what to do, and was overwhelmed by the shock at his son's death. And that's when Narad Muni and Angira went to see him. Accompanied by his wife, who was thus lamenting for her dead son, King Chitraketu began crying loudly with an open mouth. Like imagine someone very dear to us suddenly died. Like after so long, for example, we met someone, like, let's say a child didn't know who the mother was or the father was. And suddenly after 20-25 years, kumke mele mein kho gaya, and then they get, and then that parents die. So what would happen to the child? Similar reaction to the parents. They were the parents were very distressed. And right. Does this sound familiar to any one of you? Or does it seem familiar to anyone? Have you been through this? For some, maybe. For most of you, maybe no. Because none of you, or most of you, have not experienced the loss of a near and dear. It is a very heavy. It's very heavy. You know, in our Mendelian language, if we say it's very heavy on the soul. I don't know what it means, but it's very heavy on us. So, to some, you may relate to it. To some, you may not. And that's natural because none of you have been through it. But this is common in every family. If you go to your parents or your parents, they'll tell you that this situation will come in every family. In every family in this world, they will go through this situation where someone dies and the lamentation happens. And that brings us to today's topic. Today's discussion is very, very important. Very, very important because what we are going to discuss is in advance for what we will face one day or other in our life. In 2020 to 2021, I've heard many of our near and dear ones who passed away, even the youth, and it has been very difficult for them. So it's natural for some of them to relate to this. And obviously, when we speak to them, they lament. This is that part where the lamentation happens, why this lamentation happens. So I have to make it easy. Okay, before that, so it's very important because all of us will go through it at some point. What King Chitraketu went through, loss of a loved one. We may lose our father, we may lose our mother, we may lose our son, our daughter, our brother, our friend, our relative, because and how does it happen and who do we lose it to? To death. So to make it easy, I just broke down the content of the class in 4 topics. That is, first is death, unspoken, inevitable, harsh reality of life. Second, what is death? Third, why do we lament when someone dies? Fourth, I think it will come in the question answer. That is, how do we overcome lamentation? Death. So first, death, unspoken, inevitable, harsh reality of life. Because that's what happened with King Peter. This is one word none of us want to hear. None of us want to. Even if, out of joke, if we say, you know what, not even joke, but even if by chance a statement comes out like, oh, you know what, if our parents says, I will not live for long, I'll die. Like, come on, don't speak something like that. This is one word we just don't want to hear. One reality which we don't want to acknowledge. It's a forbidden subject matter amongst everyone. Speak about death, you're very pessimistic, you're very negative, you're very, or whatever jargons they want to use. Everyone wants to avoid this topic and everyone wants to avoid death at any cost. There have been a lot of movies. I've heard in my childhood that even Michael Jackson was trying to overcome death. He was spending a lot of money just to get a cure so that he doesn't die. There is this cryogenic things happening now where if you see, they freeze people's body so that they don't die. And then once they come with a solution, they'll unfreeze the body and administer the solution just to keep them alive. So from health industry to hospitals, everyone wants to cure death. Everyone wants to avoid death. But the bitter truth is no one so far could avoid death. Absolutely no one. Many in the hope of coming of solution for death have themselves been devoured by death. So there's absolutely no solution for death. And when death comes, with death comes a tsunami of pain for both, for the person who dies and the person related to the dying. Bhagavad Gita confirms that death is suffering. In Bhagavad Gita 13.9, Lord Shri Krishna says, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarsha. Is this four? He mentions death. Mrityu is a suffering, not a very pleasing thing that anyone wants. And Garuda Purana mentions that when someone dies,
the person who dies, he gets the pain, he experiences the pain of 40,000 scorpions stinging at the same time. How many of you got stung by scorpion? Raise your hand. So you will be able to. So one scorpion bite, when the venom goes to the body, it feels, imagine a red, burning charcoal being squeezed to a part of your body. That pain you experience in that body, you'll experience in your entire body when one scorpion stings us. And imagine 40,000 scorpions stinging us at the time. That's only for the person who's dying. And for the person who is related to the person, we can see which is the truth. Or for people like us. For many, my father passed away suddenly, and although I've been practicing Krishna consciousness for quite some time, it was very difficult for me to handle it. It is not at all easy. It is, there's no word to explain that scenario, that none of us can explain that scenario in words. But it is the most bitter truth. We see in this chapter, in the 6.15 chapter, first verse, Sri Shukadeva Goswami says, while King Chitraketu, overcome by lamentation, lay like a dead body at the side of the dead body of his son. Out of lamentation, he was not dead, but he was not even alive because of grief overload. This is how painful or harsh death is. He was laying like a dead person, and why? Due to lamentation. Now let's take an example. Raise your hand. Who wants to die? Go, get down, go in the street. Let's see if you want to die. None of us. I thought so. No one would want to die. We all talk, oh, I want to die. And some people say, oh, no, I love you so much. I would die for you. Get the person, make them stand in Muhammad bin Zayed, and they're like, oh, wait. I don't want to die. But no one wants to die. Why? Why no one wants to die? Okay, that's a very big fear. Yeah. Fear, okay, yeah, that's good. Fear of what?
Fear of what's going to happen after that.
Yes, okay, that's one part of it. But really, is that the one?
Fear of losing.
Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah. Fear of losing what?
Losing like
Your personal belongings, your personal
Exactly.
connections.
Everyone connected to us. We fear death because the moment I die, or the moment someone dies, I will not be able to connect to that person anymore. That person's permanently gone. Or if I die, I will not be able to enjoy the world anymore. So that it's like a permanent heartbreak, like a cutoff, and we can't. This life, which we believe to be true, it's a total cutoff from this life. So that's the reason none of us want to die. In fact, but it's such a harsh reality that it's inseparable from us like our shadow. Just like the shadow is inseparable from the body, death is inseparable from us. The moment we take birth, death is born along with that birth. Actually, we die every moment. We are very happy that, devotees sometimes say that, some people say, oh, devotees are so cynic, they're so pessimistic, where they're like, oh, what's so happy about being happy birthday? Imagine, they've tried to change the term, but what's reality? When we celebrate someone's birthday, what do we say? How old are? We don't say how young are. We don't get young. We're getting older, which means if I'm 25 years old, I have, from whatever my span of life is, I have died 25 years already. I've finished the 25 years. So you're dying every moment, every day, every month, every year. So death is something which is moving along with us. This harsh reality is something which we will have to accept, that it's moving with us. Why I'm saying this? Because first we need to understand what death is. If we think death as a foreign concept, as something which we are not connected to, then we'll not be able to understand why the lamentation part will not be able to understand. So it moves with us. So death is inevitable, and we have to face it every day. In fact, Bhagavad Gita 2.27, the Lord says, Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityur, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, tasmat apariharye arthe, na tvam shochitam arhasi. The Lord says, one who has taken this birth is sure to die. And after that, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not die. So, the Lord confirms, if you have taken birth,
you have to accept the fact that. So that part, let's fix that clear in our heart. In our school days, there was this, we back in those our school, we had this MSN Hotmail chain for email forwards. So there was one chain email which came to me where it said, so there's this one guy whose time of death came, and this death personified came and said, knocked his door, and I said, come, it's your time to die. He said, no, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. I said, no, but it's your time, you have to go. He said, okay. So he was like trying everything to negotiate, but death personified said, no, you have to come. So he said, but you have other people, you go and get other people. He said, no, your name is first on the list, you have to come first. He said, okay, fine, what to do? He's like, okay, but this guy was very, chalu kind of guy. Like, okay, I should try something to trick this death personified. So what he did, he said, okay, fine, you have come home. Let me feed you, let me welcome you, at least let me do something good, and then I'll go away. He said, okay. He goes and starts cooking inside, and he starts putting sleeping pill on the food. Then after that, he brings the food and he gives that personified. So that personified eats it and it falls asleep. What this guy does, he rubs the name on top and he writes below. Now he's like, okay, if this guy wants to take my list, check your list. So he's waiting very peacefully, and then suddenly what happens? The death personified wakes up and he's like, okay, time to go. He's like, okay, fine. And this guy's acting very, okay, it's my time to go, let's go. And that personified says, you know what? I've changed my mind. You've been so good to me. I'll start the list from below. So what happened? He rubbed his name and put below, but it was his time. So when it's time, death comes. So we can, no matter what we do, we have to face it. When it's our time, we have to face death. There's another story from the Shastra where Srila Vyasadev's grandfather, he went to meet Vyasadev and he said that, you know what, I don't want to die. Vyasadev said, what are you talking about? You have to die. You have taken birth. He's like, no, but I don't want to die. I fear death. So please do something. He said, but I can't do anything. He's like, you're incarnation of Lord Krishna. So you can do something. If out of all, and you are my grandson, can't you do this much for me? Please do something for me. And I don't want to die. So at least speak to Yamraj. Said, okay, fine. So he takes his grandfather and goes to Yamraj. And he says, Yamraj, this is my grandfather. He fears death and he doesn't want to die. Please, can you make an exception for him not to die? Yamraj says, sorry, I can't do anything here. It's not my jurisdiction. That's what happens to soul is they come to me after death. So death is not my jurisdiction. You have to go to Mahakal Purush. Mahakal Purush is time person. So then they goes to Mahakal Purush, which is time. And they go, and now Vyasadev, grandfather, Yamraj, all three goes to. Oh, so what happens is they are about to leave, and then Vyasadev says, you know what? Why don't you tag along? Because just in case he says, so I can at least have you speak. So then all three goes to Mahakal Purush, and they go to Mahakal Purush and say, Mahakal Purush, please, my grandfather doesn't want to die. Please do something. Mahakal Purush said, sorry, that's not my jurisdiction. When it's time to die, I will. But then, will he die or not die? That's not for me to decide. That's for Chitraketu to decide. You have to go to Chitraketu. So all of them, but they said, okay, fine, let's all of us go to Chitraketu. So Vyasadev, his grandfather, Yamraj, and Mahakal Purush, they all go to Chitraketu. And they go to Chitraketu and they say that, you know what, my grandfather doesn't want to die, same story. And Chitraketu says, okay, let me see. Like, you know what, you won't die, that is not there yet, but you won't die. So let's go. And as they were to leave, Chitraketu says, hang on, but there's one clause here, like, PS star, like, but it says, when Vyasadev, grandfather, Yamraj, Chitraketu, and Mahakal comes together, that moment he'll die. And that moment he drops. So the moral of the story is death is inevitable. No matter what we do, it is the harshest reality of life. We have to. Okay. Then the question comes, what is death? We know we're going to face it. But what is this death? Let's understand that death. What do you think? What is death?
When soul leaves this material body,
Okay, fine. Anyone else? Some different definition, or everyone reconciles with him?
Leave all your belongings, possessions, everything, and move ahead.
Yeah. So you leave everything behind, you move, right? That's death. So when the body leaves and goes to a new soul leaves the body and moves to a new. So the definition differs from person to person. If you ask a materialistic person, the materialistic person will say, "Death for me is cessation of enjoyment." If you ask a normal family person, he'll be like, "Oh, death means my separation from my family." So it differs from different. For a materialistic, it's end of everything. But for a spiritualist or a devotee, it is dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam tara tatha dehantara prapti dhirasatra namuyati, which means as the embodied in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord mentioned that as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by it. So this is death for devotees. They know that this soul is just leaving this body and going ahead. Baladev Vidya. Sorry. So Baladev Vidyabhushan, he says that the body, this body, is basically redundant. It's of no value. And Atma, the soul, is eternal. Birth, let's understand birth and then death separate. So what happens is there is the soul which is eternal. So it does not have a body and sense. So when the soul takes the not existing body and soul, senses together and comes, then it takes. And the moment the body gives up that already acquired body and senses, we don't look at it from this perspective. What we look at is that this person, Akinchan Damodar Das, or maybe Vasudev Gopal Das or Kunal, this is we identify us in that name. That's the reason we always lament them. So what happens is the soul, it does not, like how example, before coming here, I wore this kurta. This kurta me? No. I have taken this kurta and I've worn this. But the moment I go back for coming here, and the moment I go back home, I will remove this kurta and put it away. So me and this kurta is two different aspects. So that is when I give up this, or when the soul gives up that body and the senses which it has acquired, that is, it is just giving up. It does not die. The soul does not die, but it just gives up that body. So actually, death means change of body. That's all. The soul just leaves the body and moves on to another body. It's like, for example, like some of you have recently changed house or will change. So we have a contract. In India, we have 11 years. Here we have 11 months, 12 months. Sometimes we have 12 plus 1, 13 months. We have a contract. You have a contract, you sign a contract, you stay in that house. You don't like after the house becomes like, oh, it's boring. We don't want to live. Not boring, but I mean, we don't want, this house is no more useful to us, and then we move on. Contract gets over, you move on. You don't renew the contract. That's the same with the body. The soul has a contract that this is the time I will stay with this body. Once that period gets over, the soul leaves. That's a very simple example to understand. But how does it happen? Similarly, when a body is over, the soul takes the new body by the arrangement of time and karma. These two factors. Why does the soul leave the body? Because this material world is run under the arrangement or under the influence of time. The problem with running under the influence of time is time deteriorates everything. Tell me one thing in this world which does not deteriorate. From tangible to intangible, from subtle to gross, everything, be it culture, be it thoughts, be it building, tree, mountain, river, living being, watch, laptops, anything, they deteriorate. This is the problem with time, or living under the influence of time. So this body, because this also lives under the influence of time, it starts deteriorating. And once this body is no more habitable or inhabitable, that's the word, isn't it? Inhabitable? Yeah, inhabitable. The soul gives up. And this happens because time is deteriorating. So what happens is, as the body is material, it goes through various levels of transformation, eventually deteriorating, and then when it is no more inhabitable, due to deterioration, the soul leaves the body. Karma decides what body you get. Time decides when and where you get. There are three elements in this universe which is super powerful. Super powerful. We cannot. They're so complex, and we cannot understand them, and we can't do anything against them. That's Ishvara, God, Kal, time, and karma. Ishwar, obvious reasons, because he created everything. Time. Parikshit Maharaj, when he first saw Kali Purush, he didn't want Kali Purush to come. Kali Purush said, "It's my time." He said, "I will stop you." He said, "I will not give you place. I am the Pandu's descendants. I am the grandson of Yudhishthir, the Pandavas, and Krishna, and I have all the power. I will stop you with all my might." Said Kali Purush said, "Oh, fine. I will not interfere, but give me some place to stay." Said, "Okay, fine. I'll give you 4 places where sinful places. Said, but this is too dirty. Give me one good place." Said, "Okay, fine. 10 gold." See how time plays, the time force. You can't stop that time. It had to come. He was wearing crown at that point in time, which is made of gold. And when he said, "The moment you will reside in gold," Kali went and that on his head. That's when he started playing with his head, and that's when the whole snake thing happened. And then because he had to move out from the scenario for Kali to come, you cannot stop time. When time has decided something has to happen, it will. So these 3 elements. So because of this whole time element, what happens? We deteriorate and then we die. So this was the understanding death. Now, the third part is, why do we lament when someone dies? Let's understand that. We lament because we are attached to the person. And for a conditioned soul, it's very difficult to understand that. Understand what? That we are not a body. It's because we do not have that realization or that understanding. We lament. Oh, my mother passed away, my wife passed away, my husband passed away, my friend passed away. That's so. If that person passed away, the person's right down here. So who passed away? The soul. So we do not have that much capability to understand that something that got out of the body and moved away, and the body is here. There's 2 different elements. And it's because we're conditioned. As long as that conditioning retains in us or stays in us, we will never be able to understand. Like Chitraketu, he was thinking, it's my son, and my son is dead. Because my son is dead, my life is over. That's all. I mean, that all of this happens to all of us also. When we see someone dying, and then someone close to us dying, we lose hope from life. Same happened with Arjuna. I mean, as devotees also we face through it. When Arjuna also went through it. Arjuna, Krishna gave Bhagavad Gita before the whole war happened, and then Abhimanyu died. My son died. I think in some lecture, I think I don't know if it's authentic, but in a humorous way, the devotee put forward, Krishna was also crying. So they asked, "Why Krishna? Why you are crying?" That I gave you all the Bhagavad Gita to you, telling you that you are not the body or the soul, and you are crying for the same body only. So I mean, jokes apart, but he was crying. So what happens? That conditioning takes over. When conditioning takes over, that's when we start lament, like how Chitraketu. And then says Narad and Angira, 2 very powerful rishis, they were trying the best. That's the work of sadhu. The sadhu's work is not to give blessings. His work is to help the person guide out of this misery of me. That's what they were doing. So what happened then? When they tried to explain, console him, and like, "Oh, I understand and stuff, but this is my child." So what Narad Muni did? He brought the soul of that child back to the body. The body got up and said, Narad Muni said, "Here, your father's crying for you. Your parents are crying for you. The body looks and says, no, which father? I have had so many fathers in my previous birth. I've had so many mothers in my previous birth. Which father are you talking about? These are not my fathers. And that conversation gave a like a shock or to the Kinchit, and he realized that what am I doing? He was taken aback. So Prabhupada says, I think in the next chapter, Srila Prabhupada says that he could have thought in this. It's a matter of consciousness. He could have thought it this way, that this child of mine is an enemy of mine from previous birth. That's the reason he came and took birth as my child and died quickly to give me pain. But he was not in that consciousness. Actually, if you see, Shastras say that there are four kind of child, one gets. One is Rinabadha Putra, which is if we were indebted to someone in the previous life and we did not clear the debt and we died, then that person comes to us as child and takes it. That's the reason you see some children, they will be like, "Maa baap ke paise waste karte rahe." That's one thing. Then second is we have Shatru Putra, our enemy. To fulfill our enmity, that enmity takes birth as our child. Then there is Udasin Putra, which is they don't care what happens to our parents. Okay, you're spending on me fine, you're not spending on me fine. I have my own life, I'll think in my own way. And there is Sevak Putra. That is a servant son who is very dutiful, will do everything the way. So if Chitraketu, this is what scriptures. If Chitraketu had that sort of consciousness that okay, this is my previous birth's enemy who came, he wouldn't have lamented. So it's a matter of consciousness. The moment we realize, like for example, I may be best friend to someone here, very very close, and the moment that person realizes that I have been plotting against that person behind the back, what happens? Suddenly that emotion changes. Why? I mean, up until 10 years, 15 years, I've been your best friend. But suddenly what happens at the plot change? That your reaction or emotion towards me. So I have realized that you have been plotting against me behind my back. So you're not my friend in reality. So when we have that consciousness, if we have this kind of consciousness, this kind of knowledge, then that lamentation doesn't happen. But because we are conditioned, we do not think of it that way, this kind of lamentation happens. And how do they come to our? It's because of, again, karma and time. For example, Gandhari, she lost 100 valiant sons. Duryodhan was not anything less than Bhima in strength. In fact, Daubhai Balramji was a very good Gadadhari. And Lord Balram told Duryodhan that you are my greatest disciple. You are actually the greatest Gadadhari. Bhim wasn't. He was called Gadadhari Bhim. Sarvashresh, but Duryodhan was officially termed. So Dushasan, they used to say that Dushasan, if fighting with Dushasan in war is like fighting with crocodile in water. You cannot win. So 100 valiant sons just gone. Why? Because I heard in one of these lectures where Gandhari, in many previous births back, she once went to get water from the pond. And when she took that water from the pond and she kept that kalash, below that kalash, 100 ants died. So she was responsible for those 100 souls unknowingly. Dhritarashtra, okay, this was karma, her karma. Dhritarashtra, in the previous birth, what happened was, I think he went hunting when he couldn't hunt, and out of anger, he burnt a tree. In that tree, that bird had 100 child, 100 souls. Dhritarashtra. In different, they're not connected to each other, but they had the karma accumulated. So over a period of time, by the working of time, these both people came together. Because of the karmic reaction, they had 100 sons, and they had to bear the pain of losing. So in our life, whoever we are connected to, somehow or the other, by providence, by destiny, we are meant to be. And if whatever interaction happens, it's meant to happen. Jagat Sakshi Prabhu, he once in one of his lectures, he said that in this material world, there's all these souls who come together, there's always a set of souls who are always together. Like for example, maybe there is some guy named Jimbo in Africa. How many of you know Jimbo? If you Google, you might know, but there's someone you might find. But how many of you personally know Jimbo? None of us. Why do we not know? Because he's not a part of this set of souls who are supposed to come. We all don't meet by coincidence. We're all supposed to meet. That interaction has to happen. That some karmic reaction of giving and taking has to happen. That's the reason we meet. That's the reason some of these activities happen. There's a set of souls, they come, and then their interaction happens based on their karmic reaction. In the next birth, again something. So this, it's not a complex thing, but in general, there's a set of souls which come. So my father, who became my father, in previous, maybe he was something, maybe something had to be. Why my father he was so gracious to me, and he died suddenly, and that sudden loss of my father, I had to bear that thing. For what reason? Then maybe some sort of karmic, which time has played and him in play. Bhishma. I was listening to one lecture by I think this was Amarendra Prabhu, if I'm not wrong. So I'm still remembering who this person was. So the pastime goes this way. Mahabharata mentioned that Bhishma, when he was lying on the bed of arrow, he asked Krishna that I have checked all my karma from the past 100 or 107 births, every single activity. I don't see anything which would lead me to this kind of situation. Lord Krishna said, go back to 108, 101 or 108. I don't know. He says, look at this particular thing. And he saw that in that birth, what he did while he was walking, he saw that there was a caterpillar on the street, and that person felt that if this caterpillar is walking on the street, if someone squishes, it will die. Let me save it. So he took an arrow out of the quiver, took the caterpillar, and just threw it on the side. But when he threw it on the side, he didn't see where he threw it. So that caterpillar flew and fell in like a bush of thorns. So the number of holes it body unknowingly he did, but still the number of holes it pierced in his body, Bhishma had to face all of those things. So what happens? Karma, but time decides where, and karma decides what. You see, for example, here. So from this, yeah. So from these stories, we see that karma and time, due to the influence of karma and time, a particular soul is placed with us, and there's a purpose why they're. When the purpose gets over, they move. When we understand this, then lamentation doesn't. It's because we do not understand this, we lament. Oh, Chitraketu lamented because he thought it was his child, but it was just he had to go through that. So Prabhupada says in purport of I think 16th chapter where he says that if Chitraketu would have thought that this is because it is actually Shatruputra if you see in a way, because it is not forgetting the spiritual aspect of it. A child born and a child death brings sadness to us, and who will give sadness to us? Will our loved one give sadness to us? No, only an enemy who will give sadness, pain to us, inflict pain to us. So in the previous birth, he might have been a enemy. That's the reason they inflicted pain on King Chitraketu. See, and if you understand this, that by time, influence, we all come together, then that lamentation reduces. Like for example, in Dubai, we see now. I think in a few days we start seeing sandstorm. We have experienced one of the worst sandstorms in Dubai. So while we're driving in Sheikh Zayed Road or Mohammed bin Zayed Road, do we see any sand there? No. But when sandstorm happens, what happens? Suddenly, there's a storm comes, picks up sand from somewhere, and brings it on the road. It dances there for some time. We'll see some patterns on the road while we're driving. And then while the storm goes away, it takes some of them away, it retains some of them. Similarly, the storm or the wind of time brings souls together. For a moment, we all are together. And when the time passes away, it takes whatever it has to take. This, when we understand, when we know, understanding comes later. First, we have to know. When we know, we understand, we realize then we don't lament. And Bhishma Dev confirms in Bhagavatam. Bhishma Dev says, "Sarvam kala kritam manye bhavatam cha yad apriyam sapalo yad vase loka vayor eva ganavali." So when he was leaving his body, and in the last time when he was surrounded by the Pandavas, he said, that guys went through very difficult time. Your father passed. You guys, then Kunti became widow, and you had king, and you became king, and you lost your kingdom. Wife was disturbed. All of this, and Vishmadev said, you went through a very difficult time. People died, and in my opinion, this is Vishmadev says, in my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried. So time does everything, and we move with time. And when we have a proper consciousness to understand this, then things become. There are actually 5 kinds of consciousness, which every human being will be in categorized into. There is Annamoy consciousness, there is Pranamoy consciousness, there is Manomoy consciousness, there is Vijnanamoy consciousness, and then there is Anandamoy consciousness. The first 3 usually are material. We have to always ensure that our consciousness stays in Anandamay consciousness. When we stay in an Anandamay consciousness, the spiritual consciousness, then it becomes easier for us to have. So we discussed death, what is death, and why do we lament. Now the next part is, how can we overcome lamentation and accept it? I think I have another 5 minutes maybe. How much time?
5 is okay.
5, okay. So if our consciousness is properly situated, we just spoke that the consciousness is properly situated, then we'll not lament. And it is all a matter of consciousness. It's a game of consciousness. So how do we fix our consciousness?
Accepting each and everything is the karmic reaction.
Yeah, how do you?
Association.
That's later on. I'm going step by step.
You need to understand that everything is God's mercy. Like this is what you
Mercy is a very, see, first of all, what up until now, what did you get from me? Yeah, but what is this? It's an information, knowledge. So first we need to get knowledge. If we do not have knowledge, then lack of knowledge will make us crippled. It will not let us fix our consciousness at that level where we need to the proper consciousness. Some may say yes, we have knowledge. I know this. All of us know it, right? But then still, why do we go through it? That's because we don't have realization. Yeah. For example, I always give this joke that how many of you have tasted poison? You've tasted poison?
No.
I mean, none of us have tasted poison, but if someone gives you poison, will you drink it?
No.
Why?
We'll die.
But you've not tasted it. You know it. But deep within, you have realized it. It's fixed. The realization is fixed. That's the reason, even if you have not tasted poison, you won't. So when we realize that knowledge, that death is inevitable, it is because the soul comes, stays with us for some time, and leaves because of the factor of time. Then we do not. We overcome lamentation. We accept it. But how will we understand? Our very fabric of existence is material. So if you're material, we can't understand something spiritual. Spiritual can understand material. Material cannot understand spiritual, because from spiritual, expansion is material. Srila Prabhupada gives this example that we have to, when iron put in fire, it becomes as good as fire. So when we spiritualize our existence, then these things become easier for us to understand and realize. Sita Pragya. What is it? Tata Dehantara Dhiras Tatra Namu. You become Dhira. So that is very important. And for that, our goal, that is one part. And second is our goal has to be clear. Simple, quickly I'll go through. Just 2-3 people tell me, what's your goal in life? Raise your hand.
Be happy. Be happy.
To be happy, fine. Anyone else?
Gaadi ghar pe.
Okay, gaadi ghar paisa. Anyone else from the lady Mataji side?
Gain as much as not.
Okay, fine. Knowledge, happiness, material possession. I'll give an example. So here's a pastime. How many have heard of Maharaj Jati? Maharaj Jati, he had so many sons. Maharaj Jati was getting old, so he wanted to become young, but he couldn't become young. The only way he could become young was if someone exchanged his youth with Maharaj Jati, and then he becomes young, and the person becomes. So he went to all his sons. Everyone rejected. Then he went to Yadu, his son, and Yadu said, "Fine, I have no problem. Take." Old age means almost knocking the door off. But why was he not affected by exchanging his youth? His goal was clear. Goal was very clear. I have to form activities to for the pleasure of Lord. From this Yadu comes Yadu dynasty, where Lord Krishna comes. His goal was clear. Our goal is not clear. That's the reason we feel. For example, if I have to go, let's say, from here I have to go to Shivala Prabhu's place. I have some work. And while driving, I have a pen which goes out of the car. Maybe it's little valuable to me. Will I be like, gaadi roko, mujhe pen and highway? Will we do that? No. Why? I'm getting late. Where I have to go? Shivala Prabhu's place. Yeah. My goal is clear, so minimal loss doesn't matter. Because our goal is not clear, when people die, we get affected. If our goal is clear, we know, okay, my goal is to go back home, back to Godhead. I'm not the body, I'm the soul. I have to go. So when people are around me, this is how we overcome lamentation. Fix your goal. Spiritualize, you have to have a fixed spiritual goal. Okay, transcendental reasons. We need to have, and okay, for that, yeah, our goal needs to be fixed. But for our goal needs to be fixed, we need to have the proper mood. We may be, our goal may be fixed, we may be working, but if our mood is not right, then things will not work. I'm just giving a little bit of, okay, I'm on the last paragraph. I'll just take 2 minutes more and then I'm done. I'll tell you one story. So once what happened was there was this Babaji in Vrindavan. This Babaji in Vrindavan, while he was not a Babaji, he was a very successful businessman. So what happened was that there was this sadhu who came and said, I want you to become my disciple. I said, no, I don't want to become your disciple. I actually want to enjoy my life. He goes out. After a few months, this time sadhu comes back again. And then he says that, you know what, you should become my disciple. I said, no, but I don't want to. I told you last time, I still have time to enjoy and I want to enjoy. Please no. The third time he comes and says, you must become my disciple. I said, pagal ho gaya kya? Do baar bol chuko, dimag mein nahi jata kya? Third time you want to get out from me. This sadhu gets offended and he does what it is, a tantric sadhu. So he calls a ghost and he sends the ghost towards the businessman. What happens due to that? This effect, the ghost starts affecting the businessman and he starts falling sick. He becomes very sick. Then what he does, he wants the businessman, he speaks to his friend and he says, you know what, I'm very sick. I don't know what happened. Can you give me a cure? I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe there's some extra, supernatural element which is working on me. So he said, I can't give you a solution. I can't do something for you, but I can suggest a solution. You chant Hare Krishna. We started chanting Hare Krishna. When chanted Hare Krishna, the ghost moving. When he moved away, the ghost, now the purpose of this, this tantric ghost is, it is created for a purpose. If the purpose cannot be fulfilled by the ghost, it will go and kill the creator. It went and killed the tantric. The tantric became ghost. Now the tantric is going and disturbing the business. So he's like, Hare mujhe yaad tha, Hare Krishna bolega to it will help me. Start chanting Hare Krishna. He goes away. The moment he stops, he comes back. He again chants, he goes away. Like, jab tak kar raha hu, ja raha hai, kya karu? So he's like, I'll become a Babaji. Become Babaji means I'll constantly chant Hare Krishna, he'll never. You see the mood, he's chanting Hare Krishna. Or what is his mood? Not spiritual. If a mood's not spiritual, then it will not, the purpose, the purification will not happen. If our mood is not right, then the consciousness will not properly situated. If a consciousness is not properly situated, we will not be able to take the knowledge. will not have the proper realization. Will not have the proper realization, we will keep lamenting, keep lamenting. And we cannot do this on our own. We need mercy. Mercy of whom? Vaishnava. Narottam Das Thakur confirms that. He says, uh, Vaishnava. No. He says there's a bhajan where he speaks about the lotus feet of the Vaishnava. Just give me a minute. He says, yeah. Thakur Vaishnava Pada Avanira Sampada Suna Bhai Hoya Ekamon Ashraye Loya Bhaje Tare Krishna Nahi Teje Ar Shab More Akaron. He says Thakura Vaishnava Pada, that is the Vaishnava's lotus feet, okay, is the most valuable treasure of the world. Who takes shelter of that lotus feet and does the sadhana, Krishna never gives up on them. And when Krishna does not give up and rest all will die very painfully. Who does not take shelter? Why I said this is because either we have to take Krishna shelter or Maya shelter. There's only two ways. To take Krishna shelter is by taking the shelter of Vaishnava Lord. And only when that happens, we will stay away from Maya. The problem is if we get into Maya, which is the illusion, then this whole process, that consciousness will happen and this lamentation. Knowledge alone will not help you. See, the thing is, knowledge is, it is meant to give you realization. So as soon as Radhanath Swami Maharaj says, knowledge is supposed to give you realization. But that happens only when there's a gap in between. Knowledge, realization, when you practice that knowledge. The practice of knowledge has to happen. Oh, yeah, I'm not the body, I'm the soul, I have to stand. Practice it rigorously. Then it gives you realization. Once that happens, then we'll understand that all this setup creation is just under the influence of time. And people come, we all come together because of the influence of time and the effect of karma, and eventually we part away because that realization will happen. Mere knowledge will not just stay. And with that, I put a stop to my class. Yeah. Hare Krishna. If I have said something which is not pleasing and was not was harsh, I'm sorry. It's my shortcomings. And if you like something out of it, all goes to Srila Prabhupada and my Guru Maharaj and his Guru and Srila Prabhupada's glorious disciples. All their knowledge. Any questions?
Could you repeat the five consequences?
Yeah. There is Annamoyi. Annamoyi means the consciousness is only about getting food. You see some people, they just khai karte hain. Khana chahiye. Anything you do, their life revolves around food. Anna means food. Annamoyi consciousness. Then there is pranamoyi. There's some people who wants to live alive, just wants to be alive. They'll do anything to stay alive. Then there is manomoyi. That is, these people are situated on the mental platform. They always think ideas and stuff like that. Then there is Vijnanamai. This is evolutionary. This is once you get into the philosophical aspect, you just transcend the first three and you enter the philosophical aspect. You try to understand. That's Vijnanamai, intellectual life, but spiritual. From the spiritual aspect, not the material aspect. And there is Anandamai, where you have evolutioned to a spiritual life, and now you are you have the understanding of the Supreme Lord and are situated in the Ananda, the bliss of serving them. This is the 5 kind of consciousness. Questions?
So in detail, we'll discuss about that. You know how
Dhritarashtra, he had to suffer because of his karma. Even
Gandhari.
Gandhari had to suffer. Vishnu Deva had to suffer. But then in Gita, Krishna says that if you are like pure devotee of me, I take care of the karma. So we see Bhishma Dev is one of the greatest Mahajan.
He became a Mahajan as Bhishma, not previously.
So okay.
There's one. See, there's two, three aspects. One is if you see the spiritual, the sorry, no, complete your question. Sorry.
The question was, why do like Bhishma Dev have to suffer that?
Okay. First of all, you have to understand that in the Lord's pastime, everyone's placed in such a way that a lesson has to come out of it. Okay? Bhishma Dev was actually one of the Vasu. And then he came here. Duryodhan was, I think, Kalipur. Kali or I think Kalipur. Shakuni was Dwapurpur. So how will you say Shakuni, Dwapur Purush, how will he be so kutil by his nature? How is Duryodhan? So these are for common people like us, for us to learn. Like for example, Abhimanyu died and Arjuna was distraught. So from one perspective, we say Abhimanyu is dead, but who was Abhimanyu? Abhimanyu was the son of Somdev, Chandradev. When Krishna said, we read the Krishna book, what happens is Krishna says, before I come, everyone go, when the Purusha Shukla prayers was done, he said, go and place yourself in the Yadu dynasty and I will come and stuff like that. So it was time for Chandradev's son to also go. Chandradev was very attached to his son. No, I cannot. You take anything from me, but not my son. Krishna said, no, you have to, everyone has to contribute. Your son has to. Said, fine, I give you my word that because you're so attached to your son will come the quickest. That's the reason at the age of 16, he passed away. The flip side, they are placed. For us, we need to learn that these sufferings happen. Or if these events didn't happen, how would we discuss this and learn today or give hope to us? The fact these happen because of the Lord's will. These are not mere personalities. In Mahabharata, there's not like any common Vyakti Duryodhan ban gaya. No. They're all someone who came, performed the Leela for us to understand and they go back. Yeah? Clear? You have a more.
Are there many stories or there is just one?
In what context?
Basically, in Vedanta, they say there is just one soul.
Yeah.
We all are part of just one soul. We are not many souls. So basically, the why Jains are different from Sanatana Sanskriti is because they think that there are many souls.
Okay, that's like this Achinda Veda with Tattva kind of thing. Okay, let's for example you take, if you see ocean as an entity, ocean, you take a balti out of it, although it's two, but is it two? It's one. It's the same. वहां से आया है. It's qualitatively same, quantitatively different. So super soul, that's Krishna. We all have part and parcels of the soul is a part and parcel of we have come from. In that discussion, if you see from that point of view, it is one. We're all from that. It's not soul actually, it's super soul. The Prabhupada says that is a supreme. From him, we are the part. Anything else? If Ramraj wants to contribute, sorry. Was I right in that definition? Yeah. Like yeah. The moment it's like qualitatively same but quantitatively. एक bucket पानी अगर ले लो, ocean का ही पानी है. But क्या आप ocean के साथ compare कर सकते हो? Equal to ocean बोल सकते नहीं. But someone may argue that but you took that water from that ocean. Yes, I have taken. The quality is the same, but quantity was is very different. And it is true. Yeah. Achinta Bhedabhed kind of simultaneous but yet different at the same time.
So when you were explaining like how Gandhari in her previous word by mistake she gave 100 ants. So and you said karma is like a very important aspect of her life. But there are some things like how she did it by mistake. Her intention was not to kill. So and same thing happened with Bhishma. His intention was actually to save it, but by mistake he So on a daily basis, we also do so many things. Like now I'm walking, I must be killing so many bacteria.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
How do we mitigate that, right? Yeah, I mean, it's a very general concern. That's fine. Because the thing with karma is you have to understand. It's brutal. Me, I was just discussing with Ramraj I think few months or something back. The one aspect in spiritual life which I still could not accept or digest is karma. Because in my knowledge, I have not done bad to anyone. Why bad happens to me? Why good thing happens to bad people? Bad thing happens to good people. The same logic. But it's very complex. Like I said, there's three aspects. Karma is simple, an eye for an eye. Unless you become dear to the Lord. So the Lord has the power to wipe out anything. He's like the veto power. He's like, he can just walk in and he's like, he says, "Na sarva dharma paritaja mam ekam sharanam braja aham tam sarva papebe moksheshami mastu." Why he said that? Because up until previous to that verse, Arjuna was not convinced that, because as per the Karma Kanda's definition, what happens is if you commit one sin, the prayashchit for that on that battlefield was he has to have 12 years of fast prayashchit. And the prayashchit goes in this way that on Pratipat, he has to have one morsel of grain. On Dvitiya, 2 morsels. Tritiya, 3 morsels. Chaturthi, 4 morsels. Like that, Ekadashi, 5 and 15. And then again, it goes reverse. In case he has one morsel more, the prayashchit breaks and he has to start again. So killing one soul, this much prayashchit, he's killing so many. And that's when Krishna says, forget all this, Varnashram Dharma, everything, forget everything. Sarva Dharman Paritaja. Did we have Muslim Dharma back then? No. Did we have Christian back then? Jainism? No. It was only Sanatana Dharma back then. Then why did the concept of Sarva Dharman came? Because we have Putra Dharma, Stri Dharma, Purush Dharma, Varnashram Dharma, Brahman Dharma. Forget everything. Surrender unto me. If you surrender unto me, I assure whatever sin you incur, what is our way of surrender? Chanting Holy Name. You have to constantly chant Hare Krishna. When we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we surrender to Krishna. When we surrender to Krishna, that's the reason we say devotees. Sorry, I'm bringing your father here, but his father, he always walks with not because, but devotees will always chant. I mean that, not that his father is worried about, but he's always chanting. Devotees always chant because they're always chanting the protect. There's a saying which says, "Ekbar হরি নামে যত পাপ ঝরে, পাপের সাধ্য নাহি তত পাপ করে." One time if you say holy name, उसमें से इतना पाप झड़ जाएंगे, sin, पापी का उतना कैपेसिटी नहीं है कि अगर वो अपने सारे जिंदगी पाप करते करते मर भी जाए, तब भी वो पाप कम पड़ जाएगा कि मतलब हरि नाम के सामने. But that doesn't mean you chant because you have to shed sins. Our goal is, again, one of the holy offense to holy name is to give a mundane explanation. It is a byproduct. The primary goal of holy name is to get the love of Krishna. This is a byproduct. So chant. Your aim is to get the mercy of Krishna, love of Krishna. And byproduct is like, you'll get. Does this suffice? No, it's okay.
Well, I'm not, because we are not doing intentionally. We are our intention is good.
But Mother, that is how karma works. Problem is, we, the universal laws don't bend to us. We bend to the universal law. The universal laws only bend to Krishna. What was that thing which said? When Lord Ram was trying to, this is, I'm not from Ramayana, I'm saying from Ramananda Sagar's, this thing which I saw. He asked Samudra Dev to give space. He didn't give. Lord Ram said, you dare you disobey me, I will dry you till Patal. And then when he says, Trahimam, he came. I said, my Lord, it's you who gave me this nature that I do not part ways. How will I part? It's not my place to do that. But if you want, because you created me, if you want, you can try. I cannot say anything. You are my creator, you can be my destroyer, no problem. But it is because of my nature how you made me. So the universal law's nature is not to bend towards the jiva. It only bends when Ishvara wants. And when we are dear to Ishvara, Ishvara will take care. That's the reason Krishna says, you surrender to me, I will take care of it. Rest all you leave. What I say you do. Oh, yeah, I tell you murder, murder. Then I will see what to do because I have created this law. This laws will not affect me. If I go and say like if Sheikh Mohammed he comes, if I have feel something. If I don't without Sheikh Mohammed's approval, next thing chicken biryani and Friday in jail. But if he approves it, then how dare the police touch me? They can't. So our only solution or our only safe haven is the lotus feet of the Lord. That's all. And we have to do everything to preach. That's where consciousness and mood comes. We have to be very careful of our mood. Yeah. Done. I'll get grilled by Dhruva then. I've already taken 15-20 minutes. No, sorry.
That's fine. So thanks, Akinchan. It is said that Bhagavad Gita is the star of all Upanishads, particularly the second chapter, where the Bhagavad Gita was supposed to end, because Krishna encompassed all knowledge of that. You have discussed very nicely Jiva, Ishvara, Kala, Prakriti, and Dharma in this class, and very well presented overview about it and how we should take it as a reality of life, because it's going to come to all of us, it's not people around us, and how we can learn out of Maharaj's 10 million wives and one son. So thank you very much, Akinchan. And sometimes just to conclude is that sometimes when we learn about these things, Bhakti is very simple. Like about the illiterate Brahmana, you didn't even know how to read Gita. We get all this knowledge, we are well educated. Sometimes all this knowledge we get messes our head up. We go, how is this benefiting me? Then we start going into the trap of Maya and start thinking, how is this going to? But Bhakti is very simple, as I mentioned, very nicely concluded. Just surrender into the Lord. Thank you all for joining in. I'll just do an announcement before we move on to a quick 5 or 10 minute maximum article. Today is the last day to register for retreat if you haven't already. If you have got and we ask you to get Lakshmi, for those of you who register, please hand it over to us. Thank you all for joining. And then we'll have Shloka and and thank you, Mataji and Prabhu, for hosting very kindly. Mataji is very enthusiastic. We keep telling, we have to avoid and say, please, Mataji, don't. But she's always open with her arms to welcome all of us. So thank you, Mataji, for
Always, you all welcome.
for giving us the opportunity to cover.
Thank you all. Come here and give this event.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Akinchan, you can do your with 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Mataji, I really good.